welcome to DOL, Dignity of Labor, KTP series, Know the Profession. And today we have Akshansh with us, the growth manager. Hi, Akshansh.
Hi, Mayank.
Yeah, thanks a lot for accepting our request. So, one quick question, like you have done MBA, right? So, what are the courses that you as such utilize or use the concepts of those in your day in day out at growth manager profession?
So there used to be a course in our first year around Excel and analytics. So it was called Information Technology Tools. So
Mm-hmm,
that is something which is pretty useful. Mostly it was about Excel, but there were
mm-hmm,
some classes on SQL and R also. So
mm-hmm.
SQL and Excel are two things which I very regularly use. So that's very useful. Then there was a course on I think leadership communication or something like that.
Okay,
So that is pretty useful because we have to write a lot of documents. So
okay.
let's say some metric has been falling for let's say the last 6 weeks. So you need to write a 2-pager on why this is happening. Or let's say product has released a feature. Okay, this particular feature is supposed to be used for XYZ reason. But now you have to write an SOP about it. So what happens is the product team creates a feature and we as growth team uses those features to drive all of the metrics that we want. So we have to create SOPs on how people are supposed to use this particular feature. So that needs a lot of communication, writing stuff, writing documents. So that's one course that I use. And then there was a couple of courses on marketing analytics in the second year, which I
Mm-hmm.
think are pretty useful, like talking about the metrics, what are the important things you can look at, and how e-commerce works. There were a couple of courses on that which were useful.
Okay. So, do you have any suggestion or for the upcoming growth managers that which are not there in your course structure, but you have to be or someone has to upskill themselves such that they'll have a great career here?
Yeah, so if you know about the metrics, so
Mm-hmm.
let's say a course in your MBA would probably
Mm-hmm.
talk about a lot of courses that I've seen or what I've heard from people across colleges is that the digital marketing or e-commerce related courses in colleges are mostly focused at ads, like
Correct.
Google ads, Facebook ads,
Yeah.
programmatic
Yes.
or SEO.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of core metrics. For example, what is CTR percentage, what is A2C percentage, what is GMV, what is AOV, things like that. So if you know how things work or what can impact what, so it happens that a lot of people know the metrics, but they don't know that what can impact that metric. So if I'm saying ki my push notification CTR has dropped and you want to do an RCA, so you'll first really have to know what are the factors that can impact that. So
Okay.
knowing the metrics and knowing things that can impact your metrics, these can be very useful.
Okay. So, like you have already mentioned that in your career growth, you wish to have certain amount of metrics back to you. That is in 5 to 7 years. Uh, Look, what's your ambition for next, 10-year goal? What would be that?
So if I look at Swiggy, the people with like 10 to 12 years of experience are the head of growth, leading a
That's
particular
fair.
function. So
Yes.
our AVP, who's for revenue and growth, who's leading the entire team. So yeah, he has a 37-member team, and he's the head
Okay.
of growth. So probably
That's
that's and Swiggy is a decently big enough company. So probably that's a place that where I want to be, a decently big company creating impact and leading probably the growth function.
That's nice. So, 3 years before, when there was post COVID, if I have to say, like we happen to have highest amount of growth in quick commerce and all. Like
Yeah.
all this company had immense amount of people coming. Even
Hmm.
adding UPI is one of the things that have made easier transactions all across.
Yeah.
So, and these days we happen to see like the prompt engineering AI coming into place where you will know what is the reason like I'm not saying that this is one of the use case. Like assume if I ask ChatGPT that what are the plausible scenarios that my search has been reduced by this much amount of percentage, it might give
Hmm.
me something or the other which might be relatable, maybe 30% or 70%. So do you think what are the skill sets or how do you see the growth manager role evolving in 5 to 10 years? Like what are the skills that one should enhance themselves such that they are alive in the market even after technology enhancement?
So I feel that a lot of people in their initial years as a growth manager
Mm-hmm.
spend a lot of time on RCAs, understanding why a certain thing is happening. But once you have a pretty good analytics as a function in place, or if you have your AI plugged in, so there are a lot of AI assistants which can help you. Like you give in all your data in an Excel file, or maybe you connect them with your SQL database. They can give you all the RCA. You can ask them, okay, you just have to define the metric. I can say, okay, Q2C is this number divided by this number. Can you tell me whether it has improved or not? It will tell you, okay, it has decreased. Can you tell me the cities where it has dropped? Can you tell me the keywords for it has dropped? It can do everything. So now it all comes down to taking decisions, which
Yep.
people are not doing as of now. Like a lot of people are starting to take decision or starting to take ownership pretty late. Like, let's say after spending maybe 2-3 years into this role, so they start as a growth analyst or growth associate, where they're like mostly involved in performance reporting or putting together data, sharing data with the leadership, doing RCAs. And maybe let's say if I take a decision that I want to do this, like I want to increase the number of new users on my platform. This is an insight that I have, which number of new users are left, and I want to increase that number. So I would take a decision that I want to give a particular product for free. Let's say I want to give a Lay's packet for free on every order.
Okay.
So now doing that entire project management would be something a growth associate would do.
Agreed.
So these kind of skills would be important, like getting things done, taking decisions based on the analysis that the AI has done. So those kind of things will survive. But I think all of these skills related to RCAs or analytics and all of that would probably, technical skill or hard skills would not be that important, is what I think.
Okay. So in your profession, what is that one craziest thing that you have observed till date?
Craziest thing as in what has happened with me?
Yeah. Like you might not have experience if you're not in this profession, something like that.
Oh, I would not have experienced if I was not in this profession.
Yeah.
Got it. So I feel that I've seen people searching for a lot of weird things. Like when I was in Pharmeasy, so it was a medicine related company. So people used to search for all sorts of random drugs and narcotics and all of that. People would also I have seen search terms like B Pharma second year notes. That used to be one search. That is pretty weird. Like, why would you come to an e-commerce platform looking for that? And even on Swiggy, people search for all sorts of random things. So I feel that if I was not working here, I would never imagine that people would do that. Like as a user, like you or me are like, power users. We use e-commerce on a daily basis. We understand how things work. Nobody needs to give us a tour of the app. But there are people who don't understand e-commerce at all. Like people would come to Instamart and search for all sorts of restaurants because they think that, okay, sab kuch same hai. This is the food delivery section. Also, they're not able to differentiate. So that those are the kind of things that people do, or people are not able to figure out what can I expect from this platform. Like maybe for me it's pretty easy because I know this is the entire assortment that I have. But even if you are an outsider but you are a power user of any quick commerce, you would know that, okay, this is the breadth that the maximum I can expect. I cannot expect people to be like, maybe 1 year ago you would not think that Instamart would sell mixer grinders. You would not search for that. But now we have reached a point that you can search mixer grinders or microwave ovens and all of that, but still you would not search for a car or a bike because you know that Instamart cannot sell all of that, or maybe a mobile phone. You know that Instamart will not sell that. But there are people who don't know all of this. So that is a revelation which I had after I joined like Pharmeasy and now Swiggy. I would not have seen all of those things happen.
That's nice. And on the other side of the coin, like what are the disadvantages of staying into a growth manager profession, if at all there are any?
Disadvantages? Depends on whom we are comparing to.
Like, so there is no comparison as such. Like disadvantages as in, you can compare with anyone out in the market, but what are the things that you will be like, okay, I don't have this, but someone else has this. I don't like, we will not be having all this stuff. Like, maybe on it might be on a career trajectory path, or it might be on compensation part, or it might be on travel, any perks, all those under the sun. Yes.
Oh, got it. So travel is there, like if so within growth, so there are two different functions and here, at least in Instamart. So we have a hyper local growth charter, which is all your city growth managers. So if you want to travel, if you want to go around, you can pick up the job of a city growth manager. You can, like, there are city growth managers for Goa also. So they love traveling to their respective cities. So that's a perk that if you want, you can have that. But obviously, you're not traveling to the entire country like a consultant does. So if you like, like if you're assigned Goa, you'll always be going to Goa. You won't say that, okay, today I'm going to Goa, now I want to go to Lucknow, and I want to go to Delhi, things like that. You have to go to Goa only every time. So that perk is not there if you want to go to different places. Compensation wise, I would compare it to, let's say, a software engineer. So I have software engineer friends who are making like in the north of 50 LPA in the same age, or maybe 60, 70 if you include the stock options. So that is the kind of growth which you cannot achieve with the same level of experience. And I think it's true for all business roles, not just for growth managers. Like tech jobs obviously pay you much more. That is there.
Yeah. Just that the career trajectory might not be same for business roles as per when compared to tech roles. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that is there. And other than that, see, let's say maybe you're very creative. Maybe you wanted to be a brand manager. You want to work on, let's say, so Instamart did a pretty creative ad recently where the front page of Times of India had an Instamart ad for mangoes, and it was smelling like mangoes. You can literally smell that it has mangoes in it. So maybe if you're into that kind of stuff, then that is not there in growth. we here are a lot more about numbers than creative stuff. So if you're
Okay.
into all of that, maybe this job is not for you.
Okay. Yep. So, like as per the, one of the most, filtered out category that every B school graduate or any person will look out is compensation. So, how does the compensation ranges for, in Growth Manager, starting from years of experience 1 to 5 or 5 to 10? How does that range goes?
Got it. Got it. So I started in Pharmeasy. I had no experience and I was an off-campus hire. So I used
Mm-hmm.
to get in like I would give you a range. It was between 10 to 15 LPA.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I moved to Swiggy, I came closer to 20. I had like 5 6 months of experience, and Swiggy was obviously a much bigger company, so they had a lot
Correct.
of money to pay. So I was in the early like somewhere between 18 20 like that. So probably at 3 years of experience, I am in my early like first year of experience was 6 months was with Cognizant, 6 months with Pharmeasy. So
Mm-hmm.
2 years in Swiggy. Right now I'm in the early 20s. If you get
Yeah.
promoted now, you would be in your late 20s, almost like touching
Yeah.
30,
Near
things
touch.
like that.
Okay.
है ना? So if you say like 5 years into this career, like I am at the 3 year mark, I'll probably get promoted at the end of this year or maybe next year. So that would take me closer to 30. And at the 5 year mark, you can say easily that you will be making more than 30 LPA.
Yeah. That's
And it
nice.
also depends upon the kind of companies that you go to. Let's say if
Okay.
there are companies right now which have a lot of money, like
Correct.
Zepto or Pocket
Mm-hmm.
FM. There are certain startups which have raised money right now. They're willing to pay, like there were companies that were willing to pay me last year at like 30 32, but those were like very small companies, 6 day working, things like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now, even if I start applying now, there are companies who are willing to pay me like 30 35 LPA with a decent work life balance. So it
Great.
depends upon, or one more factor is how often do you switch. So that's the
Yeah. That is
number
there.
that you have.
Yeah.
But it's a decently paying job when you compare it to the kind of work life balance and the kind of work life balance that you get, the kind of brands you get to work with, and also the kind of work that you are doing, the
Yes.
visibility that you have.
Yep. Cool. Quick commerce or the companies that would have a growth manager role and which are like somewhat dream to, the B school aspirants who are right in college.
So almost like if you have an app or a website, everybody needs a growth
Growth
manager.
manager.
I think that's a straightforward definition of what a growth manager does. So you can take all your Flipkart, Amazons, and all the fintech apps which are there, all the grocery apps which are there, or all your OTT apps are there. Or like
Mm-hmm.
now there are all of the audio apps also. Earlier we all had the video OTT, which is Netflix,
Yeah.
Amazon Prime, and now we have the Pocket FMs and the Cuckoo FMs of the world, which are into audio cast space. But there are
Correct.
growth managers for offline businesses also. So they are basically, so growth manager by definition is somebody which helps you grow your business.
Correct.
Like we are responsible for growing the revenue. So that can be via any channel. Like right now we are only looking at digital channels, but we also have growth managers working with the let's say the brand team. So let's say city managers work on ATL and BTL related things also, which are all
Correct.
your billboards and society brandings and distributing pamphlets and stuff like that. So they are working on offline related things. So maybe there are companies which want to hire a growth manager for the offline channels. So I think anything and everything, every company would need a growth manager. So I don't think there is a restriction in terms of where you can go. It's just that the nomenclature might change.
Yeah.
Somebody might call it like a sales manager, somebody might call it a marketing manager, but the
Mm-hmm.
work remains the same.
Great. So, as you have already mentioned in one of your answers that, the kind of lifestyle that you have would be like all the time going to office or you will have hybrid option.
Right now it's 100% remote. So we
Okay.
have a quarterly meetup, so where we
Mm-hmm.
have to go for 1 week every 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the time that I go. Or the office is open. There are certain people who go to office like 2 3 times a week. Some people even go to the office every day who live closer, and there are people who used to work from office pre-COVID and
And
they're used to
yeah,
that lifestyle. So there are
correct.
people who come to office every day. So it's
Yeah.
your call. You can decide what you want to do.
Agreed. So, like, according to you, if you have to guide someone who is currently doing their undergraduation, but they are aspired to become a growth manager, they have decided it. So, what would you suggest that the earliest path or easiest path, I would say, like, or idealistic one, that you do this, you will end up in a growth manager in one of the preferred companies.
So there is, so I would say ki getting into this right after undergrad and getting into it after an MBA, both are more or less the same. You can
Mm-hmm.
join as a growth analyst or a growth associate right after BTech. We have a lot of people who have joined as analyst, and right after like 3 4 years of working here, they are a growth manager.
Okay.
But the issue there is, don't get stuck as a growth analyst. Don't
Okay.
end up being in a role where you are a growth manager and you're still doing RCAs and you're still running SQL queries. That's a path
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people get stuck into. You have to make sure that as you are moving ahead, the analytics part is okay, the technical part is reducing, and the decision making part, project management part is slowly increasing. I'm not saying ki it would get down to zero. Even here, I have seen even people like at a GM level, as and when needed, they do run queries, they do fetch their own data and do their own analysis, because first it saves time, and second it's needed. Like at times you have to do it on your own analysis. You cannot always rely on somebody else to do it for you. So it that is one thing which is there. If you join after an MBA, as I did, or a lot of people in my team did, you might face a little bit struggle when it comes to the analysis part, because you'll have to be dependent on somebody else for running the queries for you, putting the data together. But if you spend some time on your SQL, or if you take help from ChatGPT, I take a lot of help from ChatGPT. I don't know how to write queries, but what I do is I ask ChatGPT, okay, this is the query that I have. Can you do the XYZ changes for me? And then I get that data. So using that, I have also learned a few of the SQL basics that I need. So I also can write a little bit of queries on my own now.
Yep. So the next question would be related to what would be like, is the growth manager as a profession can be changed from like currently someone who is doing maybe a core IT job or a consulting oriented, he or she wants to come back to core, anything of any of these scenarios. If they want to switch, at any point they can switch, or are there any specific limitations that you can't switch after some time?
So it depends upon the kind of role that you are in. If you are into consulting, you are very much welcome. Anybody can easily move to a growth role, because growth is at the end of the day strategy and analytics. Consulting is also pretty much the same. If you are into something like when you say core IT, do you mean a software engineer?
Yeah, software engineer or coder, or they did their undergrad in computer science and then they are into developing applications for e-commerce or quick commerce. They know the terminology being utilized here, like they're very familiar with them, but then they haven't seen the profession as such.
Then it might become a little difficult, because you need to have an understanding of the business. You need to understand how things work. Okay, because I'll interact a lot with our developers. What I understand is they know the technical part, but they don't have a lot of understanding of the business. So it's the engineering managers or the senior engineering managers who take interest in the business, because they have to come up with new initiatives on how we can improve things. But the engineers that as such are not, they're not interested also, and they don't have a lot of exposure to the business. Maybe they're good at it. Maybe if you give them like a small explainer for a few weeks, they would probably be better than a lot of people working here. But as of today, they don't have that understanding. So maybe if somebody has just started out as a developer, maybe if they're good at SQL, maybe if they're good at Excel and all of that, maybe they can move in as a growth analyst or a growth associate, things like that. But if you are, let's say, 3-4 years as a software engineer, then it might become a little difficult. Firstly, because in most cases, you'll be earning more than what a growth manager is at the same level. And then you don't have, the required experience that is there.
Agreed. So it's primarily boils down to like primarily 3 or 4 buckets, I would say. Just correct me if I'm wrong. First bucket would be understanding the business. It's like, how does the business go? Either it might be fintech or medicines related or Instamart or anything. Second would be having the core analytical skills like SQL, Excel, all those. Third would be to know the process of backing your own hypothesis with data, which is called root cause analysis or RCA doing. And then fourth would be how resourceful you are and how well you can manage your team and make a project plan out of it, right? These bunch of 4 prime skills. That would be right. Yeah. So then if at all someone takes all 4, even from a different profession apart from software or consulting, then they can ideally switch to this profession at any point of time, right?
More or less, yes. Well, let's say if you're in a role like a sales role manager or a brand manager, you might need to pick up some technical skills that are needed. But you can always make a switch. Like a lot of people who are into finance, let's say people who are in BCP, they move to a lot of their own portfolio companies as a growth manager. I've seen that happening a lot. So that is also one way you can do. A lot of your program managers, project managers, people do move.
And one quick question. So assume when you have switched from Pharmeasy to Instamart, okay, how difficult was for you to get let's see, the core business is same. Like you get orders, you deliver. That's the simple funda. Yeah. But the terminologies might be similar, like, what is the click-through ratio, how much clicks you are getting, how much turnaround time you're getting, all those. But you need to be very cognizant about the boundaries of the business, right? So how much time does it generally take if you have to switch from one sector to a different sector? Like from Swiggy to maybe an audio OTT platform or anything. So the transition would take time, or how difficult it would be?
So for me, I have a comparison from Pharmeasy to Swiggy. I can say that it was a little overwhelming, obviously, because Swiggy has thousands of products. I was in the labs business of Pharmeasy, which had like 300 products, 300 different lab tests that you can get done via the app. So 300 was a pretty small number. We had a much smaller team. Like our growth team was like some 4-5 members. But here, like everybody was responsible for something else. and we had thousands of products, we had so many processes, the tech infrastructure was so huge. There, if you wanted to change a banner, you just go and change it. And like creating deep landing pages was so easy because there was such a small number of products which are there. Here everything is so huge, like even if you think that okay, I can do it on my own, you cannot, because there's like so many variables. If you want to create a landing page, it would take like 2 days, because they're like, you have to put in your products, you have to figure out a title, you have to, so every product has a different product ID associated with it, so it's a little difficult. The scale was huge, and the metrics that these guys are looking at were like they were obviously, there are a lot of core metrics were the same, but the number of metrics were huge. So like Swiggy, the growth team here looks at anything and everything. They, from like even the delivery metrics, whether they are improving or not, we look at that. So, and then product availability. For example, Pharmeasy, there was no product availability factor. You just need to have a person who can go and get blood. That's the only thing. There's no availability. Okay, we cannot test for a particular thing. That kind of a constraint did not exist. Here, it's that whether the product exists or not. If it's existing, like the Instamart exists in 500 different locations. So, if whether it's available in all 500 or not. So there's so many factors, so many variables associated. So it was definitely overwhelming. But once you spend some time here, you get used to it.
So it's more like you will have higher number of constraints or lesser number of constraints from sector to sector, but then you need to just back yourself with your funda. Okay. So I have one other question, which might be stupid also, but then like as I have understood this profession, so how frequently do you do competitive analysis, or what the competitor is doing? Like how do you generally check out like what they are doing, how they are doing? Like are there any resources that you will follow, or you generally go into the app and just check this?
So we do competition analysis all the time. Like you can open the like screen time analysis of anybody's phone. You would say that people are spending hours on competition apps, spending hours on our own app also. So like comparing, okay, because you need to be aware that in quick commerce the switching time is pretty easy. There are very few. There is definitely a cohort who is like making orders worth thousands and adding like 20, 25 products into their cart. But most people just have like 2, 3, 4, 5 products in their app. They see that, okay, you are charging me higher delivery fees, you're charging me a surcharge or something, I'll move to Blinkit. You're delivering in 10 minutes, Blinkit or Zepto is delivering in 5 minutes, I'll move to those platforms. So you have to keep analyzing. Everybody is always on the competition app. The moment Zepto makes a change, that moment they start saying that, okay, Zepto Pass is now at 1 rupees, or a certain cohort is getting it for free. Instamart would know. Somebody would definitely post a screenshot that I am getting this offer, or my mom is getting this offer, my friend in some other city is getting those offers. So we are always on the ground. And even you are saying on the app, even if you think about, okay, I want to enter a particular city, we would know. Like if we say that, okay, I want to move to a new territory, Blinkit would know. Zepto wants to open a new city, you will go to a lawyer and will know, okay, you have gone to a lawyer and you're opening in a new city.
Agreed. Yeah, it's very evident that high amount of competition is there, because there is so much of market yet to be captured. Even like on a personal note, I also do check like not an Instamart, but then Swiggy delivery and then Zomato. How much is the restaurant giving me offer? All the stuff. Yeah, agreed. That's very day in day out of our lives. Totally worth it. So like one last question: what would be your last guidance or advice to all the upcoming aspirants who have chosen or yet to choose their profession as growth managers? What do you do?
I would say if you have still not decided, it's good that you talk to people. If go to growth managers who are in a different role, like within Instamart itself, there are people who are working as city growth managers. There are people like me who are working on the execution part of it. There are people whose role are much more cross functional than I am. For me, the role is I get requests from a lot of people. There are people who give requests to a lot of people. So there are like roles operating both ways, horizontal and vertical. So talk to different people, talk to people in different industries. Maybe e-commerce is one industry, OTT is one industry, fintech is one industry. Go to different people, find them on LinkedIn, and try to understand whether you even like this job or not. Okay. So people think that okay, I'll come on day one, I will say okay, let's change. I will give 50% discount and my orders will increase from tomorrow. You don't have that power. You'll have to, there's a lot of back and forth that happens, a lot of negotiation, a lot of funds. People say that we need to be, a lot of people who don't understand how things work. They would say, Zepto is going aggressive on push notifications. But you need to understand that they are only selling groceries. So they can send 5 notifications in a day. But Swiggy as an app has food delivery, Instamart, Dine Out, Genie, etc., etc. So we have like a limitation. We also send 5 notifications in a day from our app. But those 5 are distributed. They say that, okay, Zepto is sending like 10 WhatsApp in a day. But you look at the amount of money they're burning. We have to think like there's a budget associated with it. So a lot of, like, let's say if you are responsible for diapers as a category, you will say that I want to grow my category. Let's send a WhatsApp to everybody. I'll ask you for money. You'll say I don't have money. I would tell you, why do you want to do it? Send it to everybody. Like I don't have kids. What will I do by buying diapers? So then you'll have to sit and figure out, okay, who are the right people. So somebody might not like doing this job. So you have to talk to people, figure out. If you have figured out ki, okay, I want to grow, be a growth manager, I like doing this job. First thing, like, be good with numbers, be good,
Mm-hmm.
work on your SQL, work on your SQL, Excel, things like that, and then probably I think you should be good to go.
Nice. Like hopefully our YouTube channel also will help those people to understand how exactly the professions work, like in the coming days with multiple professions. Yeah. But
Yeah,
thanks a
sure.
lot
One
for
more
your
thing, one more
yeah, yeah.
one more thing that I'd like to add, you need to have a passion for this thing, because as I said,
Hmm.
the availability is a pretty big factor. You have to be there when the job needs you. So if you're not passionate about the fact, so a very personal opinion, I live pretty close to a Blinkit store. Whenever I cross that store, I feel that hatred. I feel that I want to beat this guy. So
Correct.
if that is the motivation that drives me. If my manager calls me on a Saturday and he says that, okay, Blinkit ka strike hua hai and we need to send a WhatsApp, that is something which drives me. Okay, I want to make this happen because I want to, I'm passionate about the thing that I'm doing. I know I have my faith in Instamart, or even if I was in Pharmeasy, I had faith in Pharmeasy. So you have to have faith in the business that you are in.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. Like if you're not passionate enough to work, then you won't feel that satisfaction or motivation to work every day in, day out and doing all those things. But that's really great. Thanks a lot, Akansh, for sharing all the insights and several things during the last 40-45 minutes. Thanks a lot. It's great to have you here. Yeah.